What's the big deal? Could Rishi Sunak be about to sign off on a new post-Brexit plan for Northern Ireland? The Prime Minister is meeting the EU chief in Windsor, where it's expected key changes to trade arrangements will be agreed. Later, Ursula von der Leyen will meet the King, but that has angered some politicians. We'll tell you why. Also ahead. Why are energy bills going to go up despite prices going down? Crisis talks over our empty shelves, but farmers are fuming they're not invited. Plus,
in a phrase you know so well but has never been more true, time's up.
Betty Boothroyd, the first woman Speaker of the House of Commons, has died aged 93. And
the producer said the Asians were not good enough and they are not box office. But look at us now, huh?
SAG awards success for Everything Everywhere All at Once, what it means for the actors and the Oscars.
This is the ITV Lunchtime News with Nina Hossain.
Good afternoon. 7 years after the UK voted to leave the EU, are we on the brink of really getting Brexit done? That is the Prime Minister's big hope and big gamble. Could Rishi Sunak be the one to fix the complex and contentious issue of the Northern Ireland Protocol, the post-Brexit checks on goods being transported between the UK mainland and the island of Ireland? The European Commission President is here. The stage is set for a new deal to be announced. At what political cost? We'll have to wait and see. Here's our political correspondent, Harry Horton.
Descending on Windsor, Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. Arriving from Europe, EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. The two leaders ready to agree an updated Northern Ireland Protocol. But signing the deal might be the easy bit. All morning, Rishi Sunak has been persuading his MPs and ministers to back his deal, with some apparent success.
Will you support the deal?
The Prime Minister is on the cusp of securing a really fantastic result for everyone involved.
More difficult, getting Northern Ireland's Assembly up and running again, which hinges on whether the DUP can support the agreement.
We will decide what's going to happen and whether or not it's one that we can go with. And until then, I think it'd be unwise to perhaps make any comment until we've looked at it in a more fulsome detail.
What they do will influence others.
I think from what I've heard, he's done very well, but I'm not sure that he has achieved the objective of getting the DUP back into power sharing, which is the fundamental point of it.
Another influential voice, Boris Johnson, who's urged the government to take a more hard-line approach. And complicating things even further this afternoon, an audience with the King at Windsor Castle for the EU Commission President. The palace says this meeting is on government advice. Some MPs are not impressed. All this political risk is an attempt to solve practical problems, in particular trade between Great Britain and Northern Ireland.
We end up with swathes of documentation.
Businesses say paperwork required under the current protocol is a big burden.
This is strategically important to get this right, and what we really need is free trade between GB and NI. A movement from England to Scotland needs to be the same as a movement from England to Northern Ireland.
Labour is offering to support the Prime Minister.
Frankly, any step in those directions is going to be an improvement on what we've got, which is why I say with confidence we expect to be able to back the deal if there is one this afternoon or whenever we may see it.
Tonight, Rishi Sunak will try and sell his deal to MPs in the House of Commons, hoping, in his words, he can finish the job on Brexit. Harry Horton, ITV News.
Let's take a look in detail at what may be in any new Northern Ireland settlement with the EU. Rishi Sunak's Brexit deal could resolve three main points of contention over the protocol. There are suggestions there could be a new green lane for foods, such as foods from Great Britain to Northern Ireland, that will require minimal paperwork and checks. Currently, all goods need to be checked as if they're going into the EU, which is a lengthy and often complicated process. A red lane could be introduced for goods going to the Republic of Ireland via Northern Ireland and therefore into the EU single market. They would need checks and customs clearance. Northern Ireland's VAT rules could be set by Westminster rather than the EU, which is currently the case. And finally, and possibly the most contentious issue, minimising the role of the European Court of Justice in settling disputes between the EU and the UK over single market rules being properly applied in Northern Ireland. Let's get the latest from our political correspondent Romilly Weeks, who's at the talks in Windsor in Berkshire. Romilly, is a deal all but done?
Yes, well, the EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen has just arrived here at this rather grand hotel outside Windsor. There are still talks to be had with the Prime Minister, which are happening right now, and Number 10 is understandably quite nervous about counting their chickens before any deal is signed. But it's hard to imagine that the EU Commission President would be here on this carefully choreographed trip if the whole thing was about to go up in flames. So the expectation is there'll be a joint press conference this afternoon where a deal will be announced before the Prime Minister heads back to London to announce the deal to the House of Commons. Meanwhile, Ursula von der Leyen will head to the palace for tea with the King in a visit that has angered some members of the DUP and also some Brexiters like Jacob Rees-Mogg, who believe that this risks drawing the King into a delicate political situation. But the government has clearly decided that the benefits outweigh the risks. Today is the culmination of weeks of intense negotiation about what Rishi Sunak sees as the unfinished business of Brexit. It is a big political gamble for him, but he is hoping that the ultimate prize is that the DUP will be happy enough with the terms of the deal, by no means certain that they will agree to re-enter power sharing in Northern Ireland.
Romilly Weeks, thank you very much. Next this lunchtime, why are our energy bills going up when wholesale prices and Ofgem's price cap are both going down? The money-saving expert Martin Lewis says people in England, Scotland and Wales will pay 20% more on their bills from April, despite the cap falling by £1,000 on April the 1st. He's written to the Chancellor about the rise, even calling it an act of national mental health harm. He joins me now. Why, Martin? Why will we see this rise when the cap and prices are going down?
Well, this was announced in the Chancellor's budget last year, that there are two national energy measures. You have the energy price cap, which is based on wholesale prices set by the regulator, although there's a time lag of when it hits, and you have the energy price guarantee. We pay whichever is lower. In April, the energy price cap is coming down, but it will still be above the energy price guarantee, and it's going up. And therefore, even though wholesale rates are dropping, the price we will pay from April to July will rise 20% for almost every bill in England, Scotland and Wales. From July, we expect to see the price cap get even cheaper. It will then take over. The energy price guarantee won't be relevant. So I wrote to the Chancellor, now supported by 80 major charities and the energy retailers trade body Energy UK, to say, please don't put it up. It would hurt so many people, and it is unnecessary because the government is going to have to spend so much less money on supporting energy bills than it planned to because wholesale rates have come down. And if we just postpone the rise for 3 months, after that point, the price cap will have dropped so much, the government will no longer have to subsidise prices. I am hopeful it will listen, more hopeful than I was. Reading the runes, I think there's a good chance it won't put prices up in April. But until we hear from it, the plan is on the 1st of April, even though wholesale rates are dropping, even though the regulator's cap's dropping, then we will, as a nation, everybody's energy bills will be going up by 20%.
OK, you wrote to him a fortnight ago and you're still waiting for that response. In the meantime, then, if we take it that that move isn't changed and we are looking at 20% rises, what's your advice to people in terms of switching energy providers or trying to fix their bills? Because I know this is a really fluid situation, especially from April to July.
Well, there are no energy switches available that are meaningfully cheaper, and there are no energy fixes available at all at the moment. So my advice is you can't do anything. I am actually hopeful we might hear something in the next few weeks of the first fixes coming back into the market, but I don't know at what price. And actually, whether the energy price guarantee goes up by 20% or not has a big impact on that. I would suspect many providers are waiting to see what happens. And the timeline here is important because you might think this announcement would come in the budget at the end of March. But actually, arguably, that's too late because energy firms would have already had to write to customers to tell them bills are going up, unless the government deliberately waits so that people have had the letter saying it's going up 20%, and then it'll be able to say it's cancelling the rise, which would obviously potentially give it more political credit because people will have then realised they've been saved from something. If it does it earlier, it's only because I'm telling you it's going up by 20% that many people will know there's a price rise due to come. But in terms of fixing and switching right now, there are no meaningfully cheaper deals. I mean, there's potentially the Octopus Agile deal for some, which has variable pricing, but it's quite a complicated deal. Nothing that you can fix that's substantially cheaper.
Martin, just briefly, we've got about 20 seconds left. Other European countries, are they paying such high bills for their energy in the same way as we are in the UK?
No, we are certainly on the high side of European energy charges. But some of that is due to the way that the UK works. Others is due to the way that we have supported energy bills. Remember, there's also been that £400 payment that's also due to end in April. And there's been targeted energy support for people on benefits, for pensioners and people with disabilities, as opposed to reducing the actual prices. But I'll be honest with you, my expertise is on UK consumer issues. I don't do European comparisons. So you'd probably find somebody better than me to answer that question.
Martin Lewis, thank you very much. We wait for the government's response to your letter to the Chancellor. Thank you.
Thank you.
And the high costs of energy are also in part being blamed for the fruit and vegetable shortage in the UK. Today, the Food Minister, Mark Spencer, summoned supermarket bosses to explain why the shelves are empty. But farmers are fuming they don't have a seat at the talks and in part blame supermarkets for squeezing them. With the details, here's Charlie Frost.
While the salad shelves at this Sussex greengrocers aren't empty, they are thinning, and the cost of keeping them replenished is leaving the owner out of pocket.
So basically this tomato was between £4 to £6 a box a couple of weeks ago, and at the moment it's between £14 to £15 a box. We might have to even close because obviously the margin is not there to sustain the rent, electric and the bills. So at the end of the day, if we don't sell, we don't make the margin, we don't pay any bills.
And it's rising energy bills stopping UK home growers producing more. At Greenacre Salads in Essex, they've delayed growing their cucumbers to avoid winter fuel bills of up to £500,000 a month.
It's a worrying time. It's affecting me, it's nervous. I'm not sure if I'm going to survive. Last year I'd gone through my savings, so this year I have to make up what I lost.
Supermarkets are blaming bad weather in Spain and Morocco for shortages on the shelves, saying it's hit harvests and transport routes. But others blame supermarkets for a wider structural problem, which means Britain is far from self-sufficient, saying by driving down prices, they've driven UK growers out of business.
It's fair to say successive governments have let the major retailers run the show, and we are paying now a big price for doing that. I've been told literally time and time again that we are a wealthy nation, we can just import our food, and that era has gone.
Farmers don't have a seat at today's talks between supermarket bosses and the Food Minister. Talks aimed at resolving shortages amid fears rationing some retailers have brought in could last several more weeks. But home growers say there's no short-term fix to the deep-rooted issue of whether we invest in farming here or rely on importing from abroad. Charlie Frost, ITV News.
To a remarkable story this lunchtime when conjoined twins Bernardo and Arthur Lima were separated in one of the most complex surgeries ever performed. They made headlines around the world. Now the surgeon who made it all possible has been reunited with them in Brazil. Martha Fairley has our report.
It was a medical procedure that many had thought impossible. Bernardo and Arthur, conjoined twins, separated and sleeping side by side for the first time. The boys had spent the first 3 years of their lives with fused brains and shared blood vessels. But last year, specialists from Great Ormond Street Hospital joined their colleagues in Brazil in a virtual reality operating theatre to carry out the groundbreaking operation. Now, the paediatric surgeon whose expertise made it possible has seen the separated twins for the first time.
I'm really happy to see the boys with their family thriving. They're doing a lot, they've made a lot of progress, but we would love to see more. And we know they're going to carry on.
In the first of the complex operations, the brains and veins of the twins were separated. Then a piece of plastic was placed between them. Saline bags were used to stretch the skin, and then the top of each twin's head was reconstructed with bone and the stretched skin. The final operation lasted 44 hours. Both the medical team and the twins' parents knew there was a chance the boys wouldn't survive.
This was the most challenging procedure in my life, and at that time the mother pleaded me, please doctor, don't give up on my boys.
Bernardo and Arthur are now starting to take their first independent steps, learning to live their separate lives, thanks to some remarkable technology and the skill of their surgeons. Martha Fairley, ITV News.
Next, how Everything Everywhere All at Once won pretty much everything at the SAG Awards. One of its stars, James Hong, was cheered by the audience when he said 70 years ago, producers said Asians were not box office, but look at us now. The epic adventure is the one to watch at the Oscars, while on the small screen, it was White Lotus that triumphed once again. With the details, here's Sharon Thomas.
Everything, everywhere, all at once.
You'd be hard-pressed to find a more delighted crowd. The prize for Best Film Cast is seen as the top honour at the Screen Actors Guild Awards in LA, and the gongs just kept on coming. The fantasy film Everything Everywhere All at Once won 4 major awards, breaking the records for the most wins for a single film. Michelle Yeoh picked up Best Female Actor, the first Asian actress to win the award, beating the favourite Kate Blanchett.
This is for every little girl that looks like me.
And her tearful co-star became the first Asian winner of Best Supporting Actor in the history of the awards.
The landscape looks so different now than before. So thank you so much to all of you.
This is wow.
Everything Everywhere follows a laundrette owner, played by Yeoh, who needs to tap into different versions of herself from the multiverse to try and save the world. James Hong plays Yeoh's father. He's 94. For him, things have changed beyond recognition.
And the producer said the Asians were not good enough and they are not box office. But look at us now, huh?
There was also a surprise win for co-star Jamie Lee Curtis in the supporting actress category.
Jennifer Coolidge for White Lotus!
On the small screen comedy drama The White Lotus scooped outstanding performance by an ensemble in a drama series, and female actor for Jennifer Coolidge. The awards are seen as a key indicator for the Oscars on the 12th of March. Sharon Thomas, ITV News.
If you look up into the sky tonight, you might just see the Northern Lights. The otherworldly phenomenon is rarely seen in the UK, but last night the mystical lights were seen in Scotland, Wales, Cambridgeshire and Shropshire. Last night's sightings in southern England were apparently due to the strength of the storm and cloudless skies. The Met Office says there's a chance of seeing them again tonight. And finally, the death has been announced of the politician Betty Boothroyd, aged 93. Baroness Boothroyd was best known for becoming the first female Speaker of the House of Commons. The current one, Sir Lindsay Hoyle, said today she broke the glass ceiling with panache and that it was heartening to hear a northern voice speaking from the chair. Born in West Yorkshire, the Labour MP served as Speaker for 8 years. John Ray on the woman described as a total one-off.
The office of Speaker dates back many centuries, but Betty Boothroyd was unique in its long history. Not just the first woman in the Commons hot seat, but a formidable figure who won respect from all sides.
That is the point I am trying to get over.
And in an era when television cameras still felt new to the chamber, enjoyed the limelight.
Order! Order!
Politics was not her first calling. She was famously a dancer in West End chorus lines until her father told her to try a more serious career, and she picked politics.
Well, what have you made the main issues?
The main issues have been cost of living, rent and old age pensions.
Miss Boothroyd, do you find being a woman a drawback in politics?
No, I don't. Perhaps in personal respects it's a drawback, but not really. I think that I can cope equally as well as a man would in the House of Commons.
Still, it took her until 1973 to win a Labour seat, but it was the role of Speaker she seemed born for, centre stage in the political life of the nation. On her retirement, there was real warmth from those she'd kept in line, with a quick mind, sharp tongue and considerable wit.
Be happy for me.
She was a speaker that we were all in awe of. Quite rightly, a strong Yorkshire woman who came to the House, achieved every goal that she wanted to. And the fact that she was the first ever woman speaker, she broke that glass ceiling. She was a trailblazer.
She will be remembered as a serious politician with natural authority who still managed to bring a little sparkle to one of Westminster's ancient offices.
The history maker, the formidable Baroness Boothroyd. That's all from us for now, but Mary's here with the evening news at 6:30 with the very latest on a possible new Brexit deal from me and everyone here for now. Bye-bye.